Hey, I'm Jamey from Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanism in the digital game Balatro that I played recently for the first time. A bunch of people recommended it to me, and I played it, and I really, really enjoy it. And I think it can apply to tabletop game mechanisms, which are primarily what I talk about. I'm going to try something a little bit differently today. I haven't tried this before, but I'm going to try to show you a few turns of Balatro to show you how it works and what my favorite mechanisms are in it. So let's see if I can bring in this other screen here. There we go. And let's see if we can get it to work. So hopefully that's working. Yeah. So you have it's a few different things combined, but it's basically poker with a lot of different elements added to it. And poker played in a way where you're not trying to beat someone else's hand. There's no bluffing that goes on. So it's removed certain elements of poker. Instead, you have this hand of 8 cards. And the deck of cards is a deck building style deck. So you're going to be going through this deck multiple times. I have this hand of cards, and I am trying to win hands so that I get enough points to beat this number. So I beat 300. If I beat 300, then I get to go on to the next, I don't know, opponent, essentially. And along the way, you're trying to compose or create better and better hands using these cards. This is where it gets a little tricky here because I can't see my mouse on the screen. But an example here is that I have these cards right now in my hand, and I can choose, for example, let's see if I can get these to work. I can choose that card, and I can choose that card, and I can say I want to play that hand. I can't see my mouse, though, so I don't think it's going to let me really do that. Oh, there's my mouse. Okay. So I can play this hand with just those 2 cards. Those 2 cards go up. You can see I'm getting some points for those cards. There's a multiplier. I'm getting those points. I am closer to reaching the 300-point threshold. The better the hand you get, the more points you get. And this is where things start to get really fun because you can manipulate your hand of cards to play a better hand. So for example, I don't think this 3 and this 4 are doing much for me, 3 and 4. And so I can choose to discard. And if you look over here, I only have 4 discards per round, and I only get to play 3 hands per round to get up to that 300-point threshold. This is where I found the game really interesting. And I watched some other videos about the game, and they didn't really talk about how interesting this is. You have a limited number of hands you can play and a limited number of discards per round of the game. And so I'm going to discard this 3 and the 4 to make my hand better. So I drew. So now I can actually play 2 pair. I have 2 9s. 9 and a 9, and then actually I can, let's say I want to play that 7 because playing the 7 will get it out of my hand, and then I'll play that 6 and I'll play that 6. There we go. And I will play that hand. So I'm playing essentially a 2-player hand. I'm not even using the 7, but I'm getting it out of my hand so that I can draw more cards from my deck and improve my next hand. See, I got some more points there. So this is the flow of the game. You have a limited number of hands and a limited number of discards per round to try to get up to that point threshold. Meanwhile, you're forming these pretty powerful poker hands because you have so much control over which cards that you're actually playing and which cards that you're seeing in your hand. The game also adds layer upon layer on top of this. For example, and I need to get over to another screen now. In the game, you get to buy cards. You get to add more cards to your deck. And so right now I have 1 ace of spades, but I might actually get to add more aces of spades to my deck later on. There might be special aces of spades that are worth extra points. I had a card that was worth extra points and also extra money that gave me extra money to buy better cards at the end of each round. I could even open up new packs of cards. It felt a little bit like a collectible card game where I could open up packs of cards and add one of those to the decks, or have those cards improve my multiplier, or increase the number of hands I could play, or increase the number of discards I had. So there's lots of ways to manipulate these factors that you can see on the screen right now. I thought this was incredibly clever, all these elements combined. And I'm trying to bring out my notes for one other thing I wanted to mention. The limited hands and the discards. And the fact that you can't lose a hand, I thought that was interesting. That it's poker, but you're not losing a hand. You could lose a round if you don't get enough points, but you can't actually lose a hand to your opponent. And And yeah, it just felt really, really good to go through a run of it and to make that deck better and better, and to push my luck a little bit as I was playing, because I was constantly discarding cards in the hopes of making a really, really powerful hand, but you don't really know what you're going to draw from your deck. You have no control over that. I think there's probably even ways, like in a normal deck building game, that you can remove cards from your deck. So I might say, I'm not doing anything with these threes. I'll get rid of some threes. I'll get rid of those threes and not worry about them for the rest of the game, and increase the chances that I'm going to get aces and kings and cards like that. So combining deck building with poker, a version of poker, with the limited number of hands that you're playing to score a certain number of points, plus the limited number of discards, combined to have provide a really, really fun roguelike deck building poker experience. I recommend the game, especially to tabletop gamers. I think it's wonderful, and I look forward to playing a little bit more of it, but not too much. I don't want to get hooked on it, but I really am enjoying it so far. If you played it, let me know your thoughts and your favorite mechanisms in the comments below. Thanks.